Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the June 3rd edition of the ESTAC Inside Redesign webinar. So today we have as our guest Dr. Kelly Arnberger from Dighton, Kansas, one of the well-known redesign schools. And as always, our host, Dr. Steve Wyckoff, and we're anxious to hear what kind of wisdoms Dr. Wyckoff brings to the table today to pull out of Dr. Arnberger. So, Dr. Wyckoff, let me kick it over to you.
Hey, Kelly, the number one question that's burning in my mind. Have you talked to any of those people out there about that Cook family from Dighton?
You know, you don't even have to talk about them. Occasionally there'll be an owl sighting, and you see the Al Cook Industrial Arts building every single day, and and you have the other Cook brother that want to talk about administrative stuff. So it's kind of like it's a
plague.
I was going to use rash. No, no, actually, I hate to. I will say this, Mike. Probably there are more beloved stories about your father than any other educator that has been talked about in Dighton. Everybody has an Al Cook story, and they're all and they bring there's smiles and there's twinkle in the eyes when people talk about him. And I'm telling you the truth. He was a good guy. He is a good guy, but clearly back before we understood that there is a magic that comes with being an effective educator and a connection with children, he had it. If he ever felt like writing a book, there would be no research or control group. This is how you deal with kids, because he's had a huge impact. Again, people talk all the time, and whether it's coaching cross country or getting reminded that there's no horseplay in the shop, to just the fact that he was the teacher that every single kid who didn't always appreciate school every single day loved. So it's huge. So I don't know where you were going with that, Steve, but if you're not proud of your father, then that's on you, Mike.
Well, and I thank you so much for those kind words. We love him dearly, and yes, he had to inform me how to behave sometimes in the shop class.
Oh yeah. Oh no, those are the best stories.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So.
Yep.
So Kelly, we speaking of accolades, we just are hearing all kinds of accolades about what Dighton is doing in school redesign. So tell us, what's the secret sauce?
I don't know about accolades. Here's the faculty and the staff, the administrative team, especially at the high school. They're not afraid to fail. We've had to pivot several times in the last 3 years. We've had to make adjustments because something in a building leadership team meeting, something felt like, okay, this is good. This is what we're gonna do, and then it just thud. We're fortunate because of our size and because of the commitment of the people. We can pivot quickly, so you don't endure something that is awful for a very long period of time. Now I know the data people will be like, well, you got to give something time to work out, and you got to do A, B, C, and D. If you know it's bad, and you move on. You change it up, and so we're constantly evolving. There are a couple of things that are happening that I don't think I've ever really seen very often. The fact that we're videoing and trying not to cough so I don't have people think I have COVID. when it started, when our high school principal, Miss Rudd, showed up, you know, you learn a lot about your culture right away when you undergo a redesign process. And, you know, there were some obviously culture issues. And then anybody that's listening to this and has taken a hard look knows, so I won't go into that. But we read a book called Our Iceberg is Melting. And I think it's by Cotter. Off the top of my
John
head.
Cotter.
Yep. John Cotter.
He's a friend of mine,
And
by the way.
really, it was perfect because you have all of these, you have this small handful of people that understand we need to do better for our children. And there were the characters that Cotter brought to life in his book were easily identifiable in our organization. And so it caught on, and they started meeting at 7 a.m. on Wednesdays, this group in the secondary building. And they invited everybody. And the original redesign team, some of that changed. Some people were like, yeah, I didn't realize it was going to be yeah, I don't want this. And they walked away. And then some other people were like, well, I'm kind of interested. And it's never been formally designated anything. But they meet at 7 a.m. every single Wednesday. And they have whiteboards. They call it the war room. And they have all of the things. They have their celebrations. They have their things under construction. They have things that are coming up. And it's not organized like Bill Gates organizes his whiteboard. But there's all of the real decision making that happens in the secondary building happens on Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. Nobody's paid. Nobody has to be there. There were originally like, you know, we're a small school, so we had like 3 or 4 on the original redesign team. Generally, there are 10 or 12 teachers, and I think there's 15 teachers in the building. And generally 10 or 12. Some are there every Wednesday, some come in and out. But they have built this camaraderie and this spirit of being able to speak freely. I don't know if there was, and again, it wasn't like we followed a guidebook on how to build the team. We've read lots of them, so there are probably pieces of any of them. But I think one of the things that Leighton said to the teachers right away is, one, you're pre-forgiven, and if you want to go for it, try it. And it hasn't wavered from that. And then that part in that process, you had this group of teachers. We were trying to figure, okay, what do we want? How do we want to change the learning experience for our children? Because we experience the same things everybody else does. You know, secondary apathy. I'm here because I have to be here. I'll do enough to make sure I'm eligible if I'm out for a sport. My parents, my grandparents, everybody's parents, we're good people, so we know that this is the next step to college. We know we have to endure it. We went through all of that. That is not foreign to anybody that's involved in a high school that, you know, we're looking at our issues, especially in rural, because it is the same as it always been. And heck, most of our faculty were from here or the area. So they knew what they knew. And Leighton asked me, and she was the assistant principal. She asked Mark at the time. Mark's at St. Francis now, sitting in similar to my chair and probably enjoying himself very much. I certainly hope so. But she asked him, then asked me, can we go see some things? Can we go see some schools? They had heard about Summit. They had heard about project-based learning, PBL academies. Can we go? And literally, you know, when you're in a small rural budget, they would leave at 4 a.m. to travel to Woodland, Colorado. They traveled to Omaha. They traveled to Oklahoma, Chaparral, Erie, several trips to Topeka when it was in the first year, and they were having all of the redesign meetings. And some different groups. There was a core of people, but there were different ones that went on these different trips. So we took kids, we took students to see what was going on too. A couple of them have graduated, and some of them are still in our building, and so they were involved from the get-go. And this team bonded and really grew together tight, very focused on how they would support each other to do something different to make this better. And one of the things that happened on one of the very first experiences, and I don't remember if it was either summit or PBL visit, one of our teachers came back to class the next day, and like I said, there was only one overnight experience, and that was because of a trip to Topeka. We were able to piggyback another visit on. Early in the morning, home late at night, back to work the next day. And one of our teachers had come into the building, and she was in her classroom, and after 15 minutes, she left her kids unattended. We won't tell on her, but when she came, she went down to the office and immediately said, "I can't teach this way anymore. If we do not move forward, I'm going to have to do something else." And that was it. And away we were. Now, are we perfect? Hold on just a second. I got to catch a door. I so apologize for that. We have another training going on in the next room because it's Zoom, it's Zoom City here in Dayton, America.
Oh,
So anyway,
Yeah.
so it really was about that building of this team of people, and our head of maintenance is part of our leadership team because, well, had to be. I mean, there's this significant piece of perspective that was added to that team. Still is, still part of the core team. And he can sometimes in meetings when they get bogged down, will be able to bring up perspectives that others haven't thought about, and it kind of moves us off the hump. It's just that way. Now, here's what we're doing at the high school. We have Summit 7 through 9, Summit platform. And I know that people have, just like everything else in our society today, if you digest this piece of information, you feel this way. If you digest this piece of information, you feel this way. And both of them are pretty much, they're not completely accurate. We really like the platform 7 through 9 because it hits our kids at an age where they're really able to begin to think about habits of success. It really gives us an opportunity to reinforce cognitive skills, and the resources for the content and the standards. It allows our teachers to utilize a variety and really mentor our kids. And we're talking about junior high level kids. And that's a pretty difficult time. So the mentoring piece comes in just right. Now it works for us. Other people use it 4-12, whatever combination you want to use. For Dayton, it is working right there very well for us. And then of course that allows children that want to be involved in the PBL Academy 10-12 to be involved. It's not easy. It's not like, you said accolades. The truth of the matter is we still have kids that struggle. We still, we spent this spring delivering lunches, and there were times that Miss Nitch, the assistant principal, Miss Rudd, the high school principal, and myself, we would deliver lunches simply because they gave us an opportunity to see a kid and say, "Hey, didn't see you in the last Zoom meeting. Don't see any of your work coming back. A lot of things were done to help you do this. What can we do to help you?" Sometimes there were things that we learned that we could help. Sometimes it was just a matter of reminding them that, yeah, we are still learning continuously. But anyway, the point is we still have kids that haven't figured out their why. We're still working with them. We work with them all the time. We have conversations about, we have children that in 4 years, they're not ready And so then, you know, why does it have to be limited to 4 years? Well, we know that there are other systems in play. We work through a lot of system things. But you ask the question, the secret sauce. The secret sauce is you have a strong contingent of people that do their very best to try to figure out how kids experience learning and how they can help that. It's not any more complicated than that. And you have an administrative team and a school board that support the idea that it's okay to take risks, and it's okay for not everything to work out perfectly all the time. And if you've got a large group of people that are comfortable with that, then instead of being like, oh, this didn't work out and it's your fault, it's like, oh, well, this isn't working out for us. Let's figure out how we can do something differently. You know, we have a flex mod schedule in the secondary building, and you know, we've been tweaking flex and focus and everything else for 3 years, trying to make it a little better and respond to issues that come up that we believe are caused by the system. So that's it. I don't know what else to tell you, other than if you've got people that want this to happen for children, and they're willing to show up every day, then you can do some pretty amazing things. And then the children, the students, they picked up on it right away. It's fun to walk through Dighton Junior Senior High School for me as the superintendent with people that haven't been in our building before, because they will talk to students, and the students are never scripted, but they can tell they share things with adults that we don't even think about that are extremely powerful. And again, not perfect. We have our struggles. You know, we have goals and aspirations we want to achieve that we haven't reached yet. But for me to watch young people interact with adults comfortably in an extremely professional manner, I have great confidence that our children are going to be fine when they walk out, and that in this process, they are already better every single year that we commence students out of the system.
Kelly, I'm going to show you a slide, and I want your comments on this. And the highlighted are part of the accountability. Those things that are in the purple were on the accountability report this year. Those
Right.
things in aqua will be on next year. But these are the three big pieces that we look at in redesign: the state goals, the definition of a successful Kansan, and the redesign principles. Kind of walk through, any order you want, your thoughts on each of these.
Okay. I really haven't talked about the elementary yet, because there was some things that were already in place. So I'm just I'm going to go left to right, but there were some things in place already. You know, when I walked in the door 4 years ago, I'm also the elementary principal, and I will tell you that you can never lead a district and run a building well. If you have great people, you're fortunate. Put that slide back up there, young man.
Well,
If
two
you
things.
would.
I'll be glad to, and it's been a while since anybody called me a young man.
I had the same thought.
Well, but anyway, so you talk about kindergarten readiness. We have preschool in our elementary building, 3 and 4 year old, at risk, special ed, and because of the size of our district, we are able to offer it to any student in Dighton, in our district. And so our pre-K through to our primary pod continues to work together, matriculating our children based on their developmental stages and their readiness. And so we have kind of a hybrid between preschool and kindergarten. and it's fluid. We have a little bit of a hybrid going on between kindergarten and first grade, which is also fluid if you think so, if you think of it that way. Ultimately, by the time they leave what we call the top end of the primary, or most people would understand second grade, is we want our children to have mastered the phonics, the reading, the skills that you would find in a pathways program. And we utilize CGI math to help with augment our math curriculum standards. And our kids are heavily involved in PBL, even at a very primary age. If you don't underestimate children, you'll be surprised. And so for us, kindergarten readiness is very important. We do the ASQ. I can't remember off the top. I always want to say second steps, but that's not the program we use. We do the screening. We're constantly looking at that, but we're very for us, it's not just kindergarten readiness, it's foundational skills before we move to the intermediate level stage at the grade school. Our social emotional growth, both buildings, that's been a change. We have homeroom. We have homeroom in the secondary building. We have our families in the elementary. Both of those are multi-age. Both of those are permanent structures. And both of those have a variety of activities, conversations, opportunities that we try to promote the social emotional well-being of our children. We look at at the elementary, one of our measures we look at every day, we have a 5-minute spot check with each family before the school day begins. One, we want to know who's there. Are they on time? Two, I've got 6 kids in my family from kindergarten, 6 students from kindergarten to 6th grade. And I can see every one of them, say hello, I'm glad to see them. But I can also see when I'm conversing with them, is this student ready to tackle their day? Something going on. I can tell you too, my children are slow starters. They come in every single day and, they don't like the morning, but quick little 5-minute conversation. We know that another 15, 20 minutes, they're ready to go. But I know that because I see this child every single day before they start their day. And so I know what that looks like on a normal day. And I also know that, okay, this is more than that. And so we have another adult in my family because crazy Aunt Susan. And she will, be like, hey, go check on go have a conversation. And between the two of us, we can kind of, we can't triangulate, but we can look, okay. So if our kids are struggling walking in the door, and we know that either any teacher, any para that works with kids, they can talk to their children after their kids dismiss, and we have partners so that we know, so that the children are covered for whatever it's going to be. Or we can say, okay, this needs some other type of intervention, whether that be our mental health worker, whether it be maybe the teacher in the classroom, this child is afraid or needs to say or needs to talk to that teacher. I can go, hey, Steve, Mike's struggling a little bit. I know he wants to talk to you about something. I'm not sure what, but I need you to know that walking in the door. And so, I'll be happy to go step in for a little bit. Okay, I'll give him a chat. It eliminates so much of the behavioral and those things by just checking in with our kids every single morning, because we can real-time intervene if necessary and help them start their day on the right foot. So instead of that kid walking into the classroom, instead of Steve walking into Mike's class being full of anxiety and not being dialed in for 30 minutes to an hour or all day, we can see what we need to do right away. It's not rocket science. We just expect that when the kids walk through our door, before they start the day, there is an adult that's going to demonstrate they're happy to see them and that it matters that they're there. And that solves a lot of our problems. And our numbers are pretty high on, on time and ready to go. But it does help us with those students that we know have some issues, and we're able to maybe tackle those a little better. Again, is anything 100%? No. And is our data ever going to be? Probably not. IPS is one of the things that we really want to, one of our ultimate goals is for the IPS to drive everything. And, you've had Zello, you've had career cruising, we've had a variety of things. And that's a work in progress in both buildings. More so in the secondary, because quite honestly, all of the heavy lifting, the final end, that's where all the pressure is. But that's something that we're committed to, and part of that started with the relationships and especially the mentoring and the coaching going on in the secondary building. Our graduation rate, we're a small school. Mostly it's really good. You could have a year where it's not. That's where we get into some interesting conversations about why do we have to be, why, if every child develops differently and every child has different needs, and a kid who hasn't completed their stuff in 4 years is willing to walk in our door to receive what we offer, and they're 19, why is there a penalty for that? Because of federal cohort groups, 4-year, 5-year cohort groups. I'm not going to dive into that conversation too deeply. Just know that our philosophy is that, if they're not done, they're not done. If they're not ready, we're not going to force them or push them out the door at 18. Life expectancy, maybe not my life expectancy, but life expectancy, continue to decline. And so if you've got 80 years on this earth, to say you have to be here by the age of 17 or 18 seems arbitrary to us, especially with what we know about brain development. Yeah. Clearly, post-secondary attendance and attainment, that drives everything we do. But I'm going to take you back a step on that. I live in western Kansas, and there are a lot of really important jobs and careers out here that may not necessarily put you at a dollar level that would be assumed to be middle class, but our cost of living, what you can acquire, and what people do for quality of life, it'll be kind of close, but they're very important. They're very important positions that do allow for people who choose to make a life out here to find a high quality. Case in point, two graduating seniors this year, both went during COVID, went directly to work at one of our expanding feeders. We have a big feeding operation out here. We did some different things to celebrate, but our first grade teacher, who had the kids write their notes in the sixth, what did they want to be when they grow up? What were they going to do after high school? Something like that at the age of 6. She found them, and we posted them with the stuff on our social media. And the 2 boys, when they were 6 years old in our school system, said they wanted to go work the feed yard when they were done, and they are. And so apparently we followed the plan, and now again expanding, and it's still an opportunity where you will be trained as you work out there. There is opportunity for advancement. You can still get a lot of home in our community for under $100,000, and I know that some people in this podcast are like, what? But you can get a lot, and if you have that desire and embrace that quality of life, and you have a skill set with you, you can make a very, very nice one. And plus, we offer lots of opportunities for children to develop those skills they can use forever. And you can spend your weekends on water on your boat. You can take a couple of mornings off in the wintertime if you want to go chase a Bambi. There are a lot of things that you can do, and you're not far from the mountains if you just want to get away. And so we do look at the post-secondary attendance and attainment, and ours is high. We're blessed, and we still offer every opportunity for any child who says, I want to go work for the CDC someday because I'll be the next Fauci. Great, we'll offer you those opportunities, and we will help you. We will help you with the variety of tools that we have that allow that to happen. But you know, if we really value rural America and we can grow it locally and teach those other skills along with that, then we could truly be an economic driver for Lane County. We can watch the population not dwindle, and we can have young people that want to contribute out here. I will tell another story because it's unusual. We had a young man who had to do a speech for an applied English class. Had to have somebody listen to it. And so so he asked Miss Rudd if she'll listen to it at 9 o'clock on a Friday night. And his premise was that he was dissatisfied with the way the local mayor was running the community. And we thought, oh, okay, this is going to be interesting. And well, he talked about building inside the community and outside the city limits, and local city dollars versus county dollars. He talked about a variety of things and opportunities to progress, and it was good, and it wasn't spiteful. He just wanted to change. And then she asked him, well, would you consider running for mayor in 10 years? 16-year-old. He said, yeah. He said, you know, other people aren't willing to do it. I might want to do it. So sauce, redesign principles, definitions, all of those are important. But what I just shared with you, that's all that really matters. That's where we're winning, is our children, our students are beginning to be able to not only figure out their why, but plan for their why. And we're leading them into, we're encouraging it. And, you know, there's a really ugly statistic that says by the year 2044, the population of Lane County will be 654 people based on science, all the past trends. We're currently sitting at 1,400. You really cease to be able to provide a quality of life if that's the case, and that is in our lifetimes. I mean, that's 24 years now from here. So our mission is to bend that curve. As a school district, how can we be an economic driver for Lane County so that we can ensure that those people that choose to be out here have a reason and can have a great quality of life? And I think that answers post-secondary attendance attainment. I think I probably hit every one of those things on the successful Kansan on the right one way or another. So I think I probably need to stop now.
Yeah, I want to show you another slide that we talk about a lot.
Quit quizzing me.
When you look at your kids, where are you at on these 5 levels of student engagement? Where were you? Where are you now? What's important about them? Do they even matter?
When we started this 3.5, 4 years ago, we were in retreatism. They were in disengaged. I mean, we used to call it greet and cheat in the morning. You'd have you have those couple of kids that they followed the rules, they did the work, they were nice kids. All of their friends would show up at 7:30. What'd you get for answer number 4 on the math assignment? What'd you get for 5? What'd you get for 6? What'd you get for 7? And then everybody would turn in the assignment. Call it greet and cheat. So much of, and again, every school, I've been in a handful of systems. You're on a point system. Kid shows up every day, they turn in their daily work, and then they get a 55 on whatever assessment you provided, but they're nice kids, they pass, move on, shuffle them, and then we wonder why we have the results. that Randy showed after No Child Left Behind, about how remediation hasn't changed, about how our state of Kansas, the skills that were being asked for weren't coming out. It's because the system didn't collaborate, it didn't work. It just flat didn't work. So you have to redesign, and it doesn't have to be magic. You just have to figure out a few things. How do you engage your kids? And part of that is you have to be really committed to helping kids understand why. And I don't know what happened, other than we invited them to play along right away. They were fully involved, and that's something new. Oh, I get to run around with adults, and then pretty soon it's like, then you have this student committee, and you start doing some of the things that they suggest, and then things just build. But I would say we are not quite at 100% authentic engagement, but we do at the very minimal, we still have ritual compliance at the very least, with a handful. Majority of our kids are authentically engaged. And part of that is that really try to, through working with an IPS, but truthfully with the mentoring, the coaching, and again, our size, we're at that beautiful size where we can have really solid relationships with our children, with our families, and what the community has to offer in the way of partnerships, that we can do some pretty amazing things with kids and with students. And so, yeah, I'll give you an example. When the state board visited, because we were willing to do stuff, and so that's the accolades, is we were willing to do things. And they came out, and they wanted to meet with a handful of students. So we asked a handful of students, 5 or 6, would you be willing to meet with the adults, answer the state board question? Randy was here, the crew was here, they had all sorts of people. Mary Jo Taylor, Gene Clifford, everybody that was into education out in this part of the world was in our house. They were supposed to meet at 11:30 with this group of students after they had toured the buildings, and seen the buildings. Well, when they were in the high school, we had other kids we had done some visits and invited other schools, and they were like, hey, can we do this? Like that right there. Hey, can we do? Yeah. Hop in, go hang out with this adult, go tell them what's going on. So we had these 5 or 6 kids that we had asked that were willing, take the time. And when we got into the media center, we had 16 students who had pulled up chairs and said, I want to answer your questions. That's the authentic engagement. And then they had lunch, and I was like, yeah, we'll stay. We want to eat lunch with you. And so literally, I had adults, 1-to-1, 2-to-1 adults with children, because the students understand their why. And so I would say that, yeah, we're in between there and more on the authentic side.
Fascinating, Kelly.
Really.
You would be amazed at what happens in the secondary building. And again, a lot of groundwork done at the elementary. It's a different cat, but the transformation and the engagement of students it's just fascinating to watch, to observe.
Yeah, Kelly, those 5 levels are from Phil Slechte, and I think this definition of a teacher's job might resonate with you.
It does. It resonates a little bit. There are things that we do want them to learn, but I also think that students will, at some point in time, you have to know them enough to know what they're passionate and interested in, and help them really dive into that, even beyond. Again, I've talked about, with Summit from 7 through 9 and the COG skills and the habits of success and the foundational content. Ultimately my goal would be after that year, after they're 14 or 15, it's like, all right, you have 3 years Let's go figure out what you're going to do, what you want to do, what really drives you. And those are the standards, and get them out of the building. That's one of the things about COVID we've learned is that the kids they'll do the things that they have to do, and they'll manage their time. And they were working, and quite honestly, they were very entrepreneurial with the time because they figured out I can be an essential worker and I can make money. And crazy thing is, my employees allowed me to work through my Zoom meetings. Those boys I was telling you about, they had a required senior class, and they were all out at work. They all hopped onto the Zoom at the same time. And then when the class was over, they got off Zoom and they went back to work. We have to think about our facilities as not the be all end all where the education takes place. The community has to be the classroom. This is just part of it. But anyway, onward.
Yeah, that's that real world context.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Dr. Cook, do you have any questions for Kelly?
I just wonder what his thoughts are as we get geared up to enter the fall. Do you see any big change for what you're doing, or?
Okay, we all, again, it goes back to, we have, everybody digests information, and analytics of technology have made it that it is real easy for me to digest information that I've already got a preconceived notion about, just as it is with the two of you or anybody else. And so there are some thoughts on that are heavily in kind of one school of thoughts on another school of thought. And I, as a leader, and as my administrative team as leaders, we have to recognize that that is the reality. So basically, and what we've learned, what's important to small rural communities. When can my students, families do those things where we can interact with each other? And I'll say it, sports. When can we play summer ball? When can we go back to the pool? When can we start having camps? When can we get in the fitness center? Yeah. Those things matter, and they're not trivial at all. They're not. There are benefits to every one of those things that are incalculable. And so but it's also a normalcy thing. There's some routine. This is these are things that happen, and it helps us get through our day and to plan our day, and it provides those milestones, pieces, things that make, that are able to help sort out life. So then the big question is, okay, are you going to be able to open school in August? Well, yeah, we're going to have school in August. What will it look like? Well, probably about August 10th, there will be faculty, staff, and everybody getting back together. And it may look a little differently, but basically from August 10th till May 22nd or 21st, whatever the Thursday is that week, with your little holiday stuff in there will be school taking place. If we have families that are concerned about health and safety of their children, and they say, I really don't want to send my kid back, great, we're going to work with you. We're going to figure out, as the superintendent, I'm going to figure out how that works on the audit for seat time and funding. But we're going to work with you. We want to help your child. We want to help your family. I have 260 kids. I can pull this off. We have some families are like, we need the custodial care, and my kid needs to be around an adult. It's not me, 7.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. All right, we're going to make that happen. We will. Yeah. Will it be the same rate? It hasn't been in Dighton for 4 years.
Right.
It's going to be okay. And that allows people to understand that we know that we will be meeting your needs in the school year like we always have. But it's going to look a little different academically. But we're going to do our best to make sure that we do everything we can so all of those other important pieces are in place to the best of our ability, and that have the safety of our kids number one. And that's all you can tell anybody right now, because if something happens, I'll let you know this. Part of the one advantage of already having the redesign mindset was when it was continuous learning time, we didn't really look at the guide very closely because my elementary families were on Dojo, Seesaw, and other Google Meets, and the communication was already there. There were some things we'll tweak. For instance, if you have Google Meet, then probably everybody should use Google Meet for the video and for the announcing. You got Zoom here, Dojo here, Seesaw here, and then Google Meets. If I'm a family of 5, from the age of 5 to the age of 17, that's too much information as an adult to process trying to help keep my children in line. So we're all Google Meeting. We're all using Google platform, pre-K-12. Now, my teachers that have those platforms, the communication with parents through Dojo and Seesaw, they'll still be able to communicate. But if we have to dial it back and do more home, more virtual learning than in-house learning, it'll be Google Meet because everybody can do it and everybody has access. Our kids will all have email accounts, and we'll make it go. And it worked out. The academic, the continuous learning piece, choice boards. So much of our personalized learning programming, it's just a matter of logging in and doing and then checking in. Well, we get all the data. We know who's working with fidelity. We know who our button pushers are. We knew it when they were sitting right next to us. We know it when they're at home, and we can, hey, text mom, by the way, need to have a chat. Let me know when you're off work or when the work's. The weird thing, I think everybody else has noticed, the concept of the work day completely changed.
Yeah.
The concept, because with the technology and with the fact that it was so bizarre for so many people, it was hard for our faculty and staff being deeply engaged with their students to set aside time where it's like, I gotta not be this. You get a text from a kid Thursday night at 9. Hey, can I do my speech? And of course, we're in COVID. Oh, absolutely. Well, you got another one Sunday afternoon. Hey, by the way, I got this done. Can I get the? And so we will do a better job with a little more boundary action if we pull back further. But at the same time, and we get in a situation where I find that 20% of my population is concerned about coming in full time. That just means we might have some of our personnel at this end, instead of saying, hey, guess what, we're gonna instead of having you in front of these kids, you're gonna kind of be the liaison and the go-to and the help, and you're gonna kind of be the connection with these families to make sure they're getting what they need, and you can get that information to the right people here so it can serve kids. We'll just see what happens. But from August to May, we're gonna do a thing.
Very good. Well, some amazing work you're doing. And
I'm not doing it. I can tell you about it because I talk a lot. For 51 years, I've talked. My parents are still alive because apparently talking is not fatal. But I can tell you what other people are doing extremely well. And maybe that's why we get some accolades, because it is exciting to watch them. But I don't do anything. I'll get some valuations. I'll balance some books. I'll endure people that aren't happy with what are people that are doing the best they can. I'll take those shots for them. That's it. That's all I do. Everything else is them. I just
sure.
I just watch it go.
Well, great leaders are also have a lot of humility. So you're doing some great work. So, and congratulations.
Well, thank you.
And it's fun to see. So,
like I said, it is. It's easy to watch them.
Yeah. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you having me in the middle of June. I appreciate you letting me talk about things that are going on in the room next to me right now that nobody will ever know about, that are incredibly dumb. Student information systems. Ugh. They're plowing through it on June 3rd so that we can do a better job of providing information to our families. and they're hammering through it. And I'm not doing that, but thank you.
Out there.
Oh, I lost you, Steve.
Am I back?
Now
You're
you're
back.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us. And for those of you that have joined us, we will be emailing out the link to the video. And those of you that aren't joining us, we're going to email it to you also. So, Kelly,
That's
thanks
right.
a lot. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, have a wonderful day.
You
You
too,
too.
sir. Thank you. Join us
You're welcome.
next for our next Inside Redesign on June 17th at 1 o'clock. Thank you very much for being here.